Bring me some more port, will you?
Certainly, sir.
Bring me some more.
Yes, sir. I've not seen you before. You're not from these parts.
Oh, come back. I'll take the bottle. What am I doing here? I'm passing through on business, which takes me far away. Not for ambition or for adventure, but only to earn. And I will cross the sea and earn money and come back and spend more than I've earned. But all the while, my life runs past me like a river, and things that are of the moment I do not heed at all. I think I would go back to my home. Yes, I will set out tomorrow across the whole of Sussex for the Arun Valley.
And as I am going there too, let us go there together.
Who said that? I didn't know there was anyone else here. I thought I was alone. I was just thinking about the place where I grew up. I was thinking of those woods of my childhood, the steep bank over Stoke, the high ridge by Arundel, and the Arun turning and hurrying below. I've not visited these places for so long.
I know those places very well. It seems my part of the world is the same as yours.
It is. I have a ticket here for a train that I'm supposed to catch in less than an hour. There, it's decided. I shall stay here the night and set out early tomorrow to walk the length of dear old Sussex. Innkeeper, have you a room for the night?
Depends who for.
Not myself.
I'll have to see, won't I? It will cost you, mind. And for all the port, too.
Oh, yes, yes.
A man is more himself when he is one of a number. I'll take a room too. I say we should take the road together.
If we are to be together for 3 or 4 days, for it will take that time, tell me your name, and then I will tell you mine.
My name is of a sort that tells very little, and if I told it, it would not be worth the telling. Tell me yours first.
My name is only of importance to my masters, had I any. And since you will not tell me your name, but we must call each other something, I shall call you Grizzlebeard, which fixes you very well in my mind.
And what shall I call you then?
You can call me myself, for that is the name I call myself in my soul. Come, Grizzlebeard. I will pour you out a great deal of my port.
Ah, good.
There you are. Let us start at dawn tomorrow, with our faces westward along the Brighton road, up into the woods, into the high sandy land where from a long way off one first sees the downs.
I'll drink to that.
I believe we should recover, while they can still be recovered, the principal joys of the soul, and gather some more companions along the route if we can.
I'll drink to that too.
And these foolish titles we have chosen for ourselves shall at least be enough for us to know each other by. Grizzlebeard also had a bed in the inn that night. A better bed than mine, it would seem. And so, early next morning, the date as I recall was October the 30th, 1902, we set out, cutting ourselves quite apart from care and the rest of the world. There was still wind in the sky, driving the cold morning. As we went up the lane by Scallon's Gate, between leafless woods, and still the road rose until we came to Brightling village. We had walked 4 miles all uphill, and we had hardly said a word to each other. Ah, Grizzlebeard, an inn at last! Breakfast!
Good day, gentlemen. Oh, please excuse me. This is where I slept last night.
Are you on your way somewhere?
Oh, yes. I'm definitely going somewhere. But tell me first where you have come from.
From Robertsbridge. We stayed at the George last night.
Where are you going?
This old man and I are walking from east to west across Sussex, until we come to the better parts of the county and the places we know as home.
Oh, yes. That will suit me very well indeed.
What do you mean? That will suit you very well.
Well, I mean, gentlemen, it is my plan to walk west as well. I have money in my pocket, and I think it will last a few days.
And no doubt you have a ship in Portsmouth or Southampton, which you will join if you come with us.
No. Nor in Bosom neither. There is no little ship waiting for me. But I always land on my feet, so have I lived, and so I mean it to end.
It will not end as you choose.
Well, if you walk with us, by what name shall we call you?
Well, that depends on what you call yourselves.
Well, this old man here is called Grizzlebeard, and as for me, my name is myself, and a very good name it is too.
Very well then, you may call me Sailor, for that will suit me very well. For I am the master sailor of all sailors, and I've sailed upon all the seas of the world.
I can see that you will make an excellent travelling companion.
Yes, for as long as I choose. But you must not be surprised if I go off by this road or by that at any hour without so much as a by or leave. For as long as I have money in my pocket, I am determined to see the world.
We are all well met, sailor, you, Grizzlebeard, and I, here in this parish of Brightling, which is in a sense a shrine to the whole of Sussex.
Why'd you say that about this place?
He's referring to the great man buried under the obelisk in Brightling Church, whom you surely must have noticed.
And after whom this pub is named. Didn't you see the sign on this inn?
The Fuller's Arms! So named, as I presumed, because of all the sheep in these parts. And so much wool, and therefore so much fulling.
So named after Squire Fuller.
Some called him Mad Jack Fuller.
A notorious man of these parts, who had the heart and blood of Sussex in him, and
Was the very demigod of this county. I spent my money in a roaring way, and lived my time on earth as though I were immortal.
I heard that Fuller rode to Westminster in a noble coach, pulled by 6 huge, hefty horses.
I saw it in. I sprung from this great land, and as I went I sang, Gallier, 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 Gallier. And great crowds gathered and cheered me on my way, as befits such a great man as myself. But I didn't know what lay before me, having no knowledge of anything so evil as Westminster, nor of anything so stuffy and vile as our most detestable House of Commons.
He only knew Sussex, you see.
When I had come to Westminster, there came a day soon after when the bigwigs held a debate, and the man who took most money out of the taxes, and his first cousin who sat opposite, and to whom he had promised the next wad of public wealth, and his brother-in-law and his parasite and all the rest of the thieves have begun their pompous folly. I, the great Fuller, rose in my place, full of the South, and said, I have not come to the House of Commons to talk any such balderdash, or to hear it. Then and there, I gave him a eulogy upon the county of Sussex, which is the head county of the whole world. And though a storm arose around me, I shouted, and was heard above it all. Every man in the house called out, Order! Order! 800 times. But when they were exhausted, the great Fuller of Brightling, cried out over them all. Do you think I care for you, you insignificant little men?
And with that, he snapped his fingers at the whole bunch of them and walked out of the House of Commons and got into his great coach with its 6 hefty horses and set their heads southwards.
To Sussex! Where I was received with bells ringing, guns firing, little boys cheering, and all guns and the kids flying to the left and to the right.
I heard that Fuller spent his great fortune upon his marriage and on the poor of Sussex.
So he did.
Yes.
And there you have the story of Mad Jack Fuller. And may we all deserve as well as he.
While you have been speaking, I have made myself a hearty breakfast and eaten it. And I will pay for my food now and ask you and Grizzlebeard to pay for yours, as is the custom of my parish, and one which I hope you will admire now that I have money and conveniently forget when I have spent it.
And so we left Brightling and set out under the high morning for Heathfield.
Mark you that man up ahead. I think he will make a very good companion. I think he will make up for what we 3 lack. For this man, unless I am mistaken, is of a sort much nearer to God.
I think this thing may be an artist.
Oh, I don't think so. An artist wouldn't be so nonchalant. They make certain fixed and firm gestures. But this thing is loose-hung, and though I am certain he has debts, I am also certain that he doesn't care in the least about them.
Oh, yes. It's from my old landlord asking for the money I owe him. I shall use the back to write some verse and send that to him instead.
He is a poet!
Ah, have any of you got a knife I could borrow?
Oh, do you think it's safe to let him have one?
Oh, but it's just to sharpen this pencil with.
Have you no knife of your own?
I've lost it.
Well, then, you'd better take this.
Oh.
And write down quickly what it is that you have to write. For such things, I know, by my own experience, are fleeting.
Oh, I've already forgotten what it was I was going to write.
I bet he's forgotten his own name. Poet! Let us call you Poet. You can join us on our way. We will look after you, and you shall write us verse. Bad verse, rough verse, into which a man may sink his teeth.
I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
Don't listen to them, poet. They are good-natured men, really. Don't answer them. Just come westwards with us and be our companion until we get to the place where the sun goes down and discover what makes it so glorious.
Oh,
Yes, indeed. I will be very happy to travel with you. It's a place I have long desired to find, and have been walking towards all my life. But I am very sorry to say that I have no money, except 3 shillings and a French penny, which someone gave me out of charity, taking me for a beggar. Really? If, however, you are prepared to pay for me in all things, why, I shall be very glad to drive that bargain with you.
Poet, that shall be understood between us, and you shall order what you will. It is in the essence of good fellowship that the poor man should call for the wine, and the rich man should pay for it.
Oh, I'm not a poor man. Only I have forgotten where I left my money. I know I had £3 yesterday when I was in battle. It may turn up, I suppose. Ah! Now I remember!
Poet, we will not go back to battle for your £3.
No, not that. When I said remembered, what I meant was the line I had in my head before you came along and changed my
I do not want to hear it!
It was, I wonder if those little pointed hills...
Yes, and then what?
Nothing, I'm afraid. But you will perceive that the little hills are pointed hereabouts.
I never thanked my parents for anything in my life. But now I thank them that they sent me to the hard calling of the sea. For if I had not been apprenticed as a child to a surly seafaring brute, I might have been a poet too, by the wrath of God.
Oh, don't listen to him, poet. But see, we have come into Heathfield, and it is time to eat, or drink, or do both. Let's sit down by this little copse.
Story of how St. Dunstan pulled the devil by the nose. Of course, the story has grown distorted over 1,000 years, but it took place over there, at Mayfield. Indeed, the very tongs St. Dunstan used can still be found there.
Can they? Well, I never.
Well, then perhaps I should tell the story, lest it be forgotten.
Must you?
Yes, I must.
He must.
St. Dunstan was a Sussex man, for he was born a little this side of Ardingly, and he took religious orders and rose to bishop, and would very certainly have risen to be pope in due time, had he not wisely preferred to live in this dear county of Sussex rather than wasting his time abroad. But the most memorable thing he did was the pulling of the devil by the nose.
So you said?
Yes, I wish you'd get on with it.
One May morning, the devil went up into the Weald, where he found St. Dunstan sitting in Cookfield at a table in the open air, writing Latin verse.
Ahem.
Oh,
I have come to let you choose how Sussex shall be destroyed, for you know I have the power to do so. But I shall grant you and your people the choice of how you shall all perish.
why, devil, I think it would be far more pleasant to die by way of sea water than by any other means. For our land came from the sea, and so into the sea it should return. Only I doubt your power to do it, for we are defended against the sea by these great hills called the Downs.
You do not know your devil! I will cut through these little things in the night and not feel it. It is child's play to me, a flea-biter, Solonite's business between sunset and dawn.
Well, look, the sun is nearly set over Blackdown, so why don't you go to your work now? But if you are not done by the time the cock crows over the weald, then you shall depart and leave us alone forever, in God's name.
It's a deal.
No sooner was it dark than the devil, taking a great spade, began digging up the downs from the seaward side to flood all of Sussex and the weald. The sods of earth flew all around, so that it was a sight to see. He shoveled great lumps of chalk left and right. Whoa! So that it was a sight to see. From his spade tumbled Mount Caburn and Rackham Hill, but most of them fell upon Sisbury, and that is how those great hills came to be. The devil dug and the devil heaved, as the bells at Shoreham Church rang out the hour all through the night. And as he dug, the dyke drove deeper and deeper into the downs, so that it very nearly cut the downs in two. Soon, there were not more than 24 spits to dig before the sea would come through and drown the good people of Sussex. But St. Dunstan began offering up a prayer, and the power of this prayer caused all the cocks in the weald from Ashdown Forest through to Harting Hill to wake up before sunrise and to crow out all at once, so that such a noise was never heard and will never be heard again. The devil, hearing this terrible crowing 70 miles one way and 20 miles the other, stopped digging and hopped up onto the crest of a hill and looked in wonderment at the sky and the stars.
I have been tricked! Where are you, St. Dunstan? Damn you! I will find you! You cannot hide from me!
St. Dunstan was saying Mass at Mayfield, so the devil had to wait. How the devil are you, devil?
Oh, you know full well what you did!
Oh, I see you've not completed your little task.
I will have no monkishness, but my due!
Why, how is that?
You tricked me! You set the cocks a crowing half an hour before the right time! I would have finished digging the dyke through the downs had it not been for your sharp practice!
Coming from you, devil, I will take that as a compliment.
I will have my rights, because the law is on my side.
Oh, is it? Well, I do not entirely agree with you, but come into my little workshop where I keep all my arguments, and I will listen to you as your case deserves. The devil paced up and down, putting his case about how wrongly he'd been treated in such a lucid, coherent, and compelling fashion as to make any lawyer dance for joy. Yes, I see, but I have a case against all of this.
How in hell's name can you? Let us hear it then.
Here is my argument. Oh, no, this will never do. This howling is no pleading. Will you not admit this argument of mine and so withdraw from this court? Sorry, what was that you said? I didn't quite hear. Argue learned counsel. Plead. We must have particulars. And that is why the devil to this day feels so extraordinarily tender upon the subject of his nose. And the proof can be seen in the dyke itself, which today we call Devil's Dyke. There, Pope, what did you think of my story?
Well, you found it as painful as the devil. I dare say.
Is it over yet?
Oh,
Who knows which way is west? Poet, As you are the last to join us, you can say the way.
Truth to tell, I haven't got the slightest clue how to even get out of these woods. However, I'm not going through those places of the London sort. Burgess Hill. Wait, if that is the direction we plan on going, I must part company with your good selves.
Perhaps we could go through the bad parts in the dead of night. We could go by little lanes to Urkfield.
Do you mean Uckfield?
No, as I said, Urkfield. That way we can avoid the invaders from London and creep around them to the north until we find ourselves in St. Leonard's Forest.
We did as Grizzlebeard suggested. But by the time we had come to Urkfield, it was evening. The wind had fallen. We had gone many miles that day.
Oh, I am weary.
How much money do we have between us?
What money I have in my pocket is my own business, nobody else's.
Well, I have more than £5 in my pocket, but I'm not prepared to show you.
Well, I have more than £1. Poet, what about you? I will hire a little two-wheeled cart with a strong horse and a driver to take us to Ardingly.
Thank you, myself. Thank you.
And so we drove through the night, until we were on the edge of the high woods of St. Leonard's Forest.
Whoa! Thank you.
We went through the dark trees by a long green ride, climbing over a gate, passing deeper and deeper into the wild woods. We said very little to one another.
Can we rest soon?
Yes, how much further?
How much further?
But the sailor went on before, knowing his way like a hound, turning down this path and that. Suddenly, we could make out a blot in the darkness.
Oh, it's a little hut.
Yes, a little hut. And I have the key.
Sailor, how did you come to have the keys to this place?
Why wouldn't I have it? Right, we must light the fire and sleep with our feet towards the blaze, or else we will not get a wink of sleep.
Let Grizzlebeard have the bench and the rug. He's the oldest.
Yes.
Oh. A smoking chimney is a damn cursed thing.
Oh, it is the worst thing in the world.
Oh, nonsense. Death is the worst thing in the world.
Neither of you is right. The worst thing in the world is the passing of human affection. No man who has lost a friend need fear death.
Now that makes no sense to me whatsoever. If any man has made friends and lost, then it is I. I lost a friend in Lima once, but he turned up again in Marseille. And I can assure you the time in between was no tragedy.
You talk lightly, sailor. When a friendship disappears, then there is a space left open to that awful loneliness of the outside. which is like the cold of space between the planets.
I should have thought that the loss of honor was worse than the loss of friends.
Oh no, for one is a real loss, and the other imaginary.
When I said it was the worst thing in the world just now, I was foolish. I should have remembered the toothache.
Oh, there again! You are so utterly wrong! The earache is much, much worse.
I've never had earache.
I thought not. If you had, you would write better verse.
The things I have loved have all grown wearisome. The things that love me are estranged or dead. Your words remind me of something I read once in a book, of a man who was crossing a heath in a wild country. The wind and the rain beat down upon him, and he was very cold. So he was glad to see a light a long way off. He made towards it and found it to be a chapel with some 20 or 30 people singing. And there was a priest at the altar saying mass at midnight. The traveller noticed how warm and brilliant the place was. The windows shone with their colours. And all the congregation were hooded, and their faces turned away from him, but their singing was loud. He thought he was in fairyland.
A fairy mass.
Indeed, but as the mass ended, he fell asleep full of warmth, and his ears still filled with music. When he awoke, he found the place was a ruin, the windows empty and the wind roaring through. The man went on with his journey under that new and unhappy light, but his mind was changed forever. He had lost something great, and the world was worth much less to him than it had been the day before.
Yes, I meant something of the sort.
Oh, let us not talk about these things anymore, but rather turn our minds to what is the best thing in the world.
It seems to me that men regard being hunted as the best thing in the world.
Hunted?
Yes, hunted. For many people, having all they need in life will nonetheless start a race with the money devil. And when this money devil has given him some 5 years head start, then, when he's about 30, then the money devil comes after him, racing and careering, bounding, flying over hill, valley, field and fen, until at last, somewhere about 70 years of age as a rule, he gives up a great cry, throws up his arms, and falls down. Then the money devil comes and eats him up. Many millions love such a course.
Well said.
And then there is that other sort of appetite, or what? Lust. That sets out a-chasing the jolly human on his lust. Hunted course. And some even try and combine it with the money devil huntedness. But the advice is given to all in youth that they must make up their minds which of these two courses they would choose. The first is commonly praised and thought worthy. The second, condemned.
'Tis true.
Well, I think you're wrong.
Well then, since you know, what is the best thing in the world?
It is a mixture of great wads of unexpected money, new landscapes, and the return of old loves.
Oh, listen to him with his return of old loves. All coming in procession, 2 by 2. Oh. Anyone would think you would have slain 100 with a wink of your eye.
Well, I think you all talk folly. The best thing in the world is sleep. Good night.
been awake?
Ever since I was born. Worse luck. I never sleep.
Where did you get that milk and sugar and tea and that bread?
Well, if you would know, near this hut, there lives a troll. When he was young, he was ensnared by the love of a fairy that lives upon that heath called Over the World. And he brought her home to be his bride. And he lives close by in a hut that is not of this world. He is my landlord.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And it was he that gave me these things.
What are you doing?
This is the way the master maid who lives upon that heath called Over the World brews the troll tea.
Oh.
I have been there, so I should know. But it's no good you asking me where, for no one can find that warlock house of his but me.
Well, that was a long lie to tell. I certainly wouldn't have bothered asking, only I wanted to get them free for myself next time.
Oh, you're right there. I did get them for free. Hey. There.
Yeah. Where?
Woo! No, it doesn't rhyme, but you shall have some tea anyway. We must leave this hut exactly as we found it, or else the troll may never let us use it again.
Sailor, you are wonderful company.
For others perhaps, but not for myself. And yet that is the only thing that really matters.
And so we set out on the forest path again.
Why do they call this wood St. Leonard's Forest?
After St. Leonard, of course, who had a little hermitage in the days when poor men could wander where they willed. He would drink strong stuff from around 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning onwards. And as it was good enough for St. Leonard, it's good enough for me. It was here, this very spot, that St. Leonard built his hermitage, where a man may set his seat to worship all that he saw, and God who must have made it. Here was the cellar, and over there was his Carfax. Oh, and there to the right was the old Bibulatium. And all the ruins of this monument have disappeared through quarrying and the effects of time, save for such traces as can be distinguished by experts, and I'm one, of course. I'm sorry, gentlemen, no time for questions, we must press on. And so, we continued on down through Shelley Plain, north of Horsham, until we came to a little trickle of water in a dale, and a long lake with a lonely wood on either shore. You see that trickle of water? That's my 3 companions is the River Arrow.
Ha! It can't be.
They say that when a man bathes in it, he forgets everything that has happened to him since he was 18.
If this trickle of water is Aaron, I, for one, I'm glad to have assisted at his birth. Prosper, beloved river. It is your business, not mine, if you choose to go through so many uncertainly towards fruition and the sea.
Oh, I think it is quite moving. There is always something holy about the rising of rivers.
Well, I have not come to see little baby Aaron, but Aaron in his majesty, married to salt water and a king.
Passing over that river, we went up over the wasteland to the height that is called Lower Beeding, which is set at the very summit of a hill, just as Upper Beeding is at the very lowest point in the whole county of Sussex.
Have you noticed that whatever is high in Sussex is called low, and whatever is low is called high, and a bank is called a ditch, and South Water is north of the Downs, and the North Woods are south of them all. And the square place is called a roundabout. And Broad Bridge is so narrow, in fact, that two carts cannot pass.
Very wise, Bristlebeard.
By this time, we had walked from Lower Beeding down the hill past Leonard's Lee.
Let us stop at the crab tree to eat and drink. It's not that far now.
A walking song. On Sussex hills where I was bred, when lanes in autumn rains run red, when Aaron tumbles in his bed, and busy great cars go by, when branches bear in Burton Glen, and Berry Hill is a whitening then, I drink strong ale with gentlemen, which nobody can deny, 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 which nobody can deny. Let times be rude and weather be rough, and ways be foul and fortune tough, we are of the stout south country stuff, and never can have good ale enough, and to this chorus cry, from Crowborough top to Ditchling down, from Hurstpere Point to Arundel town, the girls are plump and the ale is brown, which nobody can deny, 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 deny. If he does, he tells a lie. Hey! And it has brought us to the crab tree.
It was true. We had come to that little shelf on which the crab tree stands, and from which the length of the Downs can be seen stretched out magnificently. And Bramber Gap and the high roof of Lancing too can be glimpsed, and onwards to Arundel and the hills and woods of home.
Tell me, sailor, where can you sing these days?
Anywhere. For example, at the table of a rich man who has invited some friends round to dinner that night to discuss affairs of state. And has only asked you to come along because you were once the hanger-on of his great nephews. Now this, to me, would be an excellent occasion to sing Gollier! Gollier!
Oh, that reminds me of my good friend Charlie Ribson. He was once invited to the reception of a wealthy hostess and decided on the spur of the moment to sing Wowly 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 Wows.
What happened to him?
They threw him in jail.
Oh.
Yes, you can only sing in a few lonely places these days.
And in an inn?
Only in a few inns, sailor, under various strict conditions, and only at certain times.
And this one?
Oh, the crab tree? No, not at this hour.
I will do an experiment. And so no one is shocked, my song shall be of a religious sort. And perhaps this will soften the hearts of the torturers, who, if indeed they have orders, as you say, to persecute men for so simple a thing as a song. Pelagius. Come on. Oh. Yes, yes. Yes. Right. Pelagius lived in Cardinal and taught a doctrine there. How whether you went went to heaven or hell, it was your own affair. And whether you found eternal joy or sank forever to burn, it was nothing to do with the church, my boy, but was your own concern.
This song is blasphemous.
Not at all.
We are attracting an audience. Do they look friendly or not? They seem interested. I can't quite tell whether they might turn hostile or not.
Don't interrupt, this is the same chorus. Oh, we didn't believe in Adam or Eve, it put no faith therein. His doubts began with the fall of man, and he laughed at original sin. Come on, you lot,
he laughed at original sin. His doubts began with the fall of man, and he laughed at original sin.
Shame on you! You should know better!
We're at the Bishop of Old Yorkshire, Germanus was his name. He tore great handfuls of his hair, and he called Pelagius shame. Then with his stout episcopal staff, he thoroughly whacked and banged the heretics all both short and tall. They rather had been hanged. Though he whacked them hard and he banged them long on each and all occasions, till they met again chorus loud and strong, the orthodox persuasion.
With the reality tells together out their orthodox persuasions, till they met again chorus loud and strong, their orthodox persuasions.
Quite a crowd.
Quite a hostile crowd.
Perhaps the sailor should refrain before we are all sunk.
It will all make sense in a minute. Now the faith is old and the devil is bold, exceedingly bold indeed. And the masses of doubt they're floating about will smother a mortal creed. But we that live in a sturdy youth and still can drink strong ale, let us put it our way to infallible truth, which always shall prevail. And thank the Lord for the temporal sword and the howling heretics too. And whatever good things our Christendom brings, especially barley brew.
With a rowdy-towdy in the hour, especially barley brew. And whatever good things our Christendom brings, but especially barley brew.
Thank you! Thank you!
No one is clapping.
Good people, we trust you have clearly heard every word of what we have just delivered to you, for it is government business.
They don't seem convinced.
In fact, they seem ready to come at us.
And as envoys of the king, we also bring money to refresh all the people of Sussex along our way, for the government is ever mindful of the welfare of the poorer folk. So, I leave here 5 shillings to order ale for your good selves to breaking point. And so, good day to you. Good day. No, but you are strictly charged not to follow us or harm us in any way. Run. For himself, good day, good day!
By the time we had come to Little Cowfold, it was already past 3 in the afternoon, and in such weather more wintry than autumn, the air already had a touch of evening.
Well, what shall we do? Shall we stop for a while to admire the church?
Or to pick a quarrel with someone. Or to sing another song.
No, don't you dare!
Or lacking that, have some more drink.
I think that as tomorrow is All Hallows, we should get to Arran and the western part of the county.
Ah yes, as tonight is Halloween, and there is rumour that all those who cannot come to earth at any other time come this night to hold their revels.
Ah, it is true. Tonight, little people dance in the meadows and in the undergrowth. It is this dancing of theirs that leaves bright green tracks upon the grass and marks the fields with wheels and circles that convince unbelieving men. I've seen the little people myself.
Well, I have never seen them, but I nevertheless believe in them. And for that reason I have been blessed all my life. For my father left me money, and the little people increased it.
Well, you are very lucky, Grizzlebeard. For it is well known that those who come upon the little people going round and round are caught by them in the middle of the ring and are led to a place where no one can go, underground. And the little people bring him a sack. And he stuffs it full of the gold pieces they bring him. Full to the neck. And he shoulders it, and he makes to thank them when, poof, quite suddenly, he is back out upon that heath at early morning with no one about, and in an air quite miserably chill. Then the man says to himself, well, at least I have my gold. But when he goes to pick the sack back up again, he finds it very light. And when he pulls out the contents of the sack, he finds not gold, but the dead leaves of the hornbeam and the birch that the little people use to mint the fairy gold. And then far down beneath the ground, he hears the slight tinkle of many tiny silver bells. And he knows that it is the little people laughing at him.
Well, so it may be for those who have the misfortune to see them. But as I say, I have never seen them. And year after year, I pick up the dead leaves of my life. And year after year, I find between my hands gold and more gold.
Well, I have seen them. And when I was a younger man, I often saw them. And I would be with them for hours in that lovely little place of theirs where nothing matters very much.
And what did they give you, beyond that loon look of yours?
Why, the power to conceive good verse, and this I still retain.
Well, indeed, poet, I do believe you have seen the little people. For what you have just said proves it. You have handled fairy gold. For the little people gave you verse, which seemed well minted, sterling and sound. But when you came back to man's world, this verse turned into the light and worthless matter of dead leaves.
What about you, myself? Have you ever seen the fairies?
I do not think so. I do not think I've ever seen them. But I've heard them once or twice, murmuring and chattering, pattering, clattering, flattering and mocking at me.
But what did they say to you?
They told me I would never get home. And I never have. As we talked, the darkness began to gather. The sky was already an apple green in the west. And in the eastern blue there were stars. There also shone what had appeared before on the windless day, a few small wintry clouds, neat and defined in heaven. Above them, the moon, not yet full, was no longer pale, but began to make a cold glory. And all the valley of Ada was a deep and solemn sight to see. all four of us received the sacrament of that wide and silent beauty. We ourselves went in silence to receive it. And so, with the tang of the cold and in full darkness, we came to Henfield and an inn.
We want fried bacon, agreed?
Oh, yes.
And bread, and as much ale as 4 men can drink by your judgment, good man. Come, myself, since you know so much, can you tell us how hog is made so agreeable to man? Eh?
Nobody knows that.
Oh, the curing of hog flesh till it becomes bacon is a sure evidence of the cream. Well, how else could man have discovered such a thing otherwise?
What, you mean that there is no curing the pig until the pig is dead? It would seem the time the pig is past all healing is the very moment most suitable for curing him.
Will you tell us how a pig is cured? For I long to learn one useful thing in my life.
Oh,
Oh, let me do the honours. Now, first, you cut your pig in two.
Right?
And you lay each half upon a smooth, well-washed wooden board. Then, taking one half, you gather a handful of saltpetre. Very diligently, rub it into the flesh.
Right.
And rubbing, have a care to rub in rubbedly, as rub should. And show yourself a master rubber at rubbing. Oh, and this you do on the inside, not on the out. That's covered with hair. Now, when you've rubbed in a good rubbard manner, till your rubbment is aglow with the rubbing, why then you must stop and hang up your half-pig on a hook from the beam and wash your hands and have done for that day. The next day you must begin again. Oh, God. And so on for 30 days, until before your curing is over, you are taking but a tithe of the saltpetre that you took at the beginning. And when all this is done, you will have a pig of pigs and a pork perfect.
But what of the bristles of the pig? What of his hair? Are bristles not better in brushes than in bacon?
Yeah. Oh, yes, indeed. For the pig, like all brutes, differs from man in this, in that his hide is covered with hair. On which theme the poet Wordsworth composed a poem.
Wordsworth?
His hide is covered with hair? Oh. The dog is a faithful, intelligent friend, but his hide is covered with hair. The cat will inhabit the house till the end, but her hide is covered with hair. The hide of the mammoth was covered with wool. The hide of the porpoise is sleek and cool, but you'll find if you look at that gambling fool that his hide is covered with hair. Oh, I thank my God for this at the least. I was born in the West and not in the East, and he made me a human instead of a beast, whose hide is covered with hair.
I cannot believe that honest Wordsworth, or Horseface as he is sometimes known, wrote this.
Oh yes, there are many verses. Would you like to hear another?
No.
Then I'll continue immediately. The cow in the pasture chews the cud, but her hide is covered with hair. Stop! And even a horse of the Barbary blood, his hide is covered with hair.
For the love of God,
The
stop!
hide of the camel! Oh yes! Unlimited praise for many a day. And he can go without drinking for several days.
Hey.
But his hide is covered with hair.
Oh, I thank my God for this and the least. I was born in the West and not in the East, and he made me a human instead of a beast, whose hide is covered with hair.
Enough!
Whistle be the saved us all!
With this condemnation of a noble song, we moved outdoors onto the road into the dark. It was very cold. The moon rode over Chankton Bridge. In a clear heaven, the frost had touched the grass, and the twigs were sharp in the moonlight like things engraved upon metal. We pressed on in silence. I knew my goal, but as for my three companions, it was but an aimless trudge through the darkness after a long day's journey. Finally, we came out upon the Ashurst Road.
Oh, where shall we sleep tonight? I'm so very tired. Perhaps the inn at Bramber.
Oh, yeah.
No! Oh, no. Never. Not there.
Why ever not? It
No,
can't be
no,
that
I
bad.
will not go there. You cannot make me.
Come on.
No, we will not go to the inn of Bramber.
Oh.
I will not go there, for no man may relive his youth. It's the most perilous of human endeavours, this attempt to return to the past. If it fails, it breeds the most woeful of human woes. Who knows that we would find it the same? Who knows that the same voices would be heard in the garden? Or that the green paint on the tables would be dry, blistered and old? That the chairs be rickety? Or that cucumber would still be the principal ornament of the feast? No. I will not stir the leaves of memory, may the gods forbid it.
And now that all the affection of your talk is spent, I may tell you that you might have saved your breath. For I know of a little house close at hand. Oh, it is empty but well furnished and full of stores for winter. The trolls are not my friends, sailor. But I possess the keys to such little houses all up and down the county. Come, let's go to this little house of mine. It's only a mile across the water meadows.
See how all the doors of the county open to you.
Not all, but certainly 4 or 5. Yes, just as I remember it. This great beam. And that old fireplace over there. Here, take these matches.
And 4, no, 5 huge logs of oak.
Well, light the fire with this.
Why, there is some verse on this.
Oh, I've carried it about with me for months, and I'm disappointed with it. Go ahead, burn it.
Are you sure? Seems there's more than one poet among us.
Well, this is all very jolly. I think we should send to the fountain at Ashurst.
Yes, for bread and cheese.
Oh, and for ale, of course. Who should fetch it?
Oh, well, not I, seeing as I knew of this place and know what is what, and can answer anyone that comes a-calling suspiciously. And Lord Grizzleby, it need hardly be said, out of respect for his age.
What about you, poet? Poet! What about you?
What? Oh, fetch the ale. Oh, no, it is out of the question. For I suddenly find myself so seized by the muse, that my hand can scarcely keep up with my brain. Look.
I see. What? Why is it that in any company there is one man more courageous, more merry, more manly, more just, more considerate, stronger, wiser, and much more holy than his peers? Oh, and very kind and generously intelligent as well. That it is he that is made the drudge and the butt of the others.
Ah! Ooh. What's the matter with you?
I have writer's cramp. Now you see how we poets suffer.
I like this. May I? When I am living in the Midlands, which are sodden and unkind, I light my lamp in the evening,
My work is left behind, and the great hills of the South Country come back into my mind. For the men that live in the South Country are the kindest and most wise.
They get their laughter from the loud surf, and the faith in their happy eyes comes surely from our sister the spring, when over the sea she flies. The violets suddenly bloom at her feet. She blesses us with surprise. I will gather and carefully make my friends of the men of the Sussex Weald. They watch the stars by silent folds. They stiffly plough the field. By them and the God of the South Country, my poor soul shall be healed. If ever I become a rich man, or if ever I grow to be old, I will build a house with deep thatch to shelter me from the cold. And there shall the Sussex songs be sung, and the story of Sussex told.
It is good verse, myself.
It needs more work.
Probably.
There! Full to the brim! Oh. Hey, right there. Do it. Pull middle take. Got it? Yeah. Go. Hey. Have you finished your poem yet, poet?
It is not yet quite completed.
It is better so.
To Stenning Ale!
To Stenning Ale!
Hey.
I could not sleep, remembering All Hallows and what dancing there would be in the woods that night. I thought the firelit darkness was alive, so I slipped to the door very quietly and went out to watch the world. The moon stood over Chanctonbury. Little clouds, her attendants, shone beneath her, worshipping. And they all presided over a general silence. Her light caught the edges of the downs. There was no mist, and she was still frosty clear when I saw her set behind those hills. The stars were even more brilliant after her setting. And all the valley of Ada was deep and quiet, with my little river slipping at low tide towards the sea. Sleep came at last to me also. But that night, dead friends visited me in dreams.
I am famished.
Me too.
And me.
What? In this house we breakfast after the fashion of heroes.
Which is?
Which is upon last night's beer and the bread and cheese of our suppers. Here, some cheese for you, poet. Catch. And some bread for you, Grizzlebeard. Oh, and some beer for you, sailor.
It's stale!
So is this bread.
And the cheese.
Oh, listen to yourselves.
Pity the trolls aren't your landlords.
If you have heartily breakfasted, then let us leave the rest of the loaf and the cheese for the mice, who keep house for me when I'm away, and frighten off newcomers by pretending to be spirits of the dead. Ooh. And so we went out and across the little green to a road. Then along a path and across the fields to Stanning, where we found the high road to Washington, Storrington and Amberley Bridge, and so over to the country beyond Arran and the things we knew. We went on towards the Hampshire border.
Speak up, man!
No good. Rather have tea.
What did he say?
I said that beer was no breakfast for walking on, and that I would rather have tea.
Poet, I think you must be a vegetarian. Very probably, like most men of your wealth, you are afraid of your body. A lanky thing, I dare say.
Burn all those that are afraid of meat. Burn the water drinkers too, teetotalers.
The Lord knows myself was wrong in making small, stale beer and bread a proper breakfast for a man.
Quite so.
Strong beer and beef are what's needed.
In the future, we will only knock at myself's door when we need to fast for some great evil to be atoned. Come on, let's go into this inn and have a proper breakfast! The finest of cold meat and good strong ale. We're in luck.
Well, I do beg your pardon. I didn't see you there. Good day to you, sir.
He had a hump, which was not his fault, and a sour look, which was.
I should like to be very rich.
What do you call very rich?
Oh, not to have to think of things. To be able to dip when one liked into one's purse, and to pay for what one wanted, and to travel or rest at pleasure, and to succour the needy. My wants are few.
That can't be done. When you are wishing for wealth, you are by the nature of things wishing for what a man can buy and own. No, you were wishing.
Don't preach!
If I were very rich, I would like a number of things like this gentleman said.
He didn't say it, I said it.
Shut up.
Oh, come on!
If I were very rich, I should like to hold great dinner parties and go to plays. And I should like a jolly little house. And I would like a motor car and a telephone. And I would like electric lights in the rooms. But one would want candles in the private places.
Well, I don't really know. I don't think I would like to be very rich. I suppose I am very rich by any good standards. Really, I need no more.
And what would you do if you were very rich? I'm talking to you, sir!
I know that! I should sit here in this chair, smoking this pipe with this very tobacco in it, and looking at this very fire. That's what I should do, and there would be you four men behind me.
Would you? And how do you know that you would do that?
Because I am very rich already. I am exceedingly rich. I have more money than any other man I know. Yeah, I'm rich enough. My name.
Never heard of him.
I wonder what the HB stands for.
Hideous being. Bastard.
Your best line yet, poet!
And so we set off for Washington. And as we talked, the first drops of rain came over the edge of the high hills that stood like a wall above us.
Must we go on, even in this weather?
Yes, ninny lad. But what else are roads made for but to give a man hard going over wet ground?
Well, I say there is a time for everything, and rain time is not a time for walking on a road. Yes, a time for everything. For example, I never shave on a Sunday. I think it very unlucky.
Yes, and everything has its lucky day, except for burial. There is never a lucky day to be buried on.
Buried on Monday, buried for health. Buried on Tuesday, buried for wealth. Buried on Wednesday, buried at leisure. Buried on Thursday, buried for pleasure. Buried on Friday, buried for fun. Buried on Saturday, buried at 1. Buried on Sunday, after 11, you get to the priest and you go to heaven. You see that field over there near Whiston Park? That is where St. Cuthman cursed the haymakers, so that now it always rains there at hay time every year. Like poet says, there is a time for everything.
How do you know this story?
Trust me, poet, I know a great deal. St. Cuthman was a great holy man, but he was very poor. First he sold his motor car to follow God and bought a carriage. And then he sold that and bought a dog cart. And then he sold that and bought a broken down, nasty, paint-scratched go-kart.
When did all this happen?
Oh, hold on. He then sold that and bought a wheelbarrow to take his old mother to church in.
Oh.
And it happened in the year of our Lord 713, just after Sussex got the faith, and hundreds of years before she lost it again. Now, Cuthman was taking his mother to church in the wheelbarrow. When the haymakers started laughing at him, and that's when he said, "Laugh, men, weep heaven." And immediately 2 inches of rain fell on that field in half an hour. Oh, Lord, how the men cursed him. And the same happens there at hay time every year. As poet says, there is a time for everything. We walked all along the road under Champtonbury until we came to the crossroads at Washington, and then to Storrington, to the inn, to the White Horse Inn.
Evening. Some of the same.
Have you had a good run, sir?
No, certainly not. Nearly lost me life.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Wasn't my horse. Hadn't got a horse. Never had one. Borrowed it from old Benjamin at Petworth. Do you ride?
Well, I've always liked to ride. I like it still, in moderation.
Well, it's the kind of horse that matters, of course. Not the way you ride him. And I tell you, this one was a brute. Oh, Lord. He was red all over. Even his eyes were red. And he chucked his head up in the air like a great big lizard. And he snarled and spat defiance.
We are talking about a horse.
He couldn't stand on more than 2 feet at a time. And he changed them at 10 times a second. It's what they call dancing. And that's how he went on while all the other people were sitting quietly on their great, docile, well-fed animals. And then, a silly ass said, whoa there, to my horse. That fool made the beast perfectly mad. And then, old Squire Powler, married my Aunt Eliza for her money and butters up my father, came up and asked me where I got the beast from, and I said, from hell!
Pray do continue.
He suddenly raced away in a half circle, with his head down, and stopped short in front of an oak tree. And this annoyed me so much that I leant forward and slapped it. My word, didn't he snap round and try to bite my foot? And then he began hopping, sideways, in a manner most horrible to see and to feel.
Oh, do go on.
All of a sudden, a long way off by Burton Rough, all the little dogs began making those yelping noises of theirs. Which they do when they get excited. But at this, the horse began going as quickly as he could, dead straight. And he didn't take a leap exactly when he got to the hedges. He just went on galloping through them. And then I saw the big brother up ahead, and I thought I may jump it, even though it's 8 times as far as any horse's jumps. Or else they'll go into the water and that will cure him. But that's just what didn't happen. He swerved round like a swallow and made for the high road in Petworth again. And when he got to the road, he began dancing slowly home and puffing, as though he'd done a day's work. And every now and then, he'd sneeze. My word, what a day.
It can't have taken you all day. It's only lunchtime.
No, didn't take 20 minutes. 20 minutes at most. But oh, by heavens, filled up the day all right. And he came back to old Benjamin's as quiet as a lamb, only with that hellish red glint in his eye. When I said to the stable fellow, take your Beelzebub, and the stable boy said quite fiercely, he ain't no Beelzebub, you've no right to call him that. I ask you, never came to blows. Oh. Yeah. Now I must be getting home.
Bye-bye.
If you have no horse.
Oh, borrowed another. One more ladylike.
It's a child's pony. Oh dear, oh dear.
We went out and took the Amberley Road in the rain. We passed the heath there, leaving the pond on our right. by the little wood of pine trees.
I shall go without companions, and with nothing in my hand. I shall pass through many places that I cannot understand, until I come to my own country, which is a pleasant land.
I think I know the place you mean.
Oh no, not you, sailor. It is a place where no man ever has been or will be. At least not such men as you.
In less than an hour, we shall get over this height of land, and we shall see the River Arun. Whoever sees it first must let the others know, and we will arrange for him some sort of prize.
Oh, if Grizzlebeard is right, we shall see Grafton and Houghton, and so to Harting, which is the end of the county, and where you come to wasteland.
How shall we mark the passage of the River Arun when we come to it?
Let us draw lots to see who shall drown himself in the river.
Let us count our money. We must be getting low. I have none.
Each of us tell the story of our first love.
Each of us, lying in his heart, agreed.
Oh, yes, sure, yes.
We went on
In the rain.
until we came to such a height of land that the rain and the veil of it did but add to the beauty of all we saw. And the sky and the earth together were not like November, but like April, and filled us with wonder. At this place, the flat water meadows are often flooded and turned into a lake in midwinter. We came at last past the great Amberley chalk pit, to the railway, and to Arun. We stood in the rain and looked at that river a little while and blessed it. Each of us felt within and deeply the exaltation of return. And so, on into Mr. Duke's parlour at the Bridge Inn to order good Sussex ale.
Come, Grizzlebeard.
Yes?
You are by far the oldest of us. So, you should begin.
To remember that great time of my first love, and how securely I was held, and in what a port lay the vessel of my soul, would silence a man.
By what moorings were you held?
And by three: her name, her voice, and her eyelids. She was past her youth. Her 25th year was upon her. Her mother and father were both dead. And she was of great wealth. She herself had her own valley. It was that of the River Breed, and it was most dear to her, for it was here she had lived since she was a child, and there she would pass her days. Into her house I was received. She was much older than I, and when I first knew her, I was not yet a man. I returned again and again, constantly finding myself alone in her companionship. We walked together in long avenues. The lawns of 400 years were a carpet for us. We slowly paced her woods, and would often watch the early setting of the sun behind bare trees during the frosty seasons of the year. At evening, we sat side by side in front of her regal fires, and we spoke with each other of dead poets, and of the wars, and of strong domestic memories grown to be pictures so clear and lovable. Why then at last I knew what briar had taken root within me. In her absence, especially during the long nights, the drooping of her eyes returned to me their slow and generous glances. Her voice was her very self, and it so moved me that whenever I heard it, I trembled. Her name, though really quite common, was set above the world and given a power over my spirit, so that to hear it or see it written would cause everything within me to stir, and it was as though a lamp had been lit suddenly in my soul. Why then, I understood that truly there were special words of witchcraft. But what a vision is this? Well, do not ask me if I contemplated union or marriage, for I was far up and away in a world where such things are not considered. There was no time, no future, no past. I was high up above such things.
9 inches off the ground, head in the clouds.
One day I was called away to a town overseas, and it was not until 19 months later that I came home. On my return, I made at once for her valley. A servant whom I did not recognize opened the door to me, and I inquired if the lady of the house was at home. She was not, and she would not return until later that evening, he said. However, the servant handed me a letter which my lady had left for me. Oh, the writing on that little piece of paper renewed in me with a power I knew so well, the magic of a sacred place to which I had deliberately returned. As I held the paper, I breathed uneasily, and I walked in a fever towards her great gates of iron, and nor did I open the letter until I had taken refuge in the local inn, where I was well known. Right there, alone, and under a small lamp, I read the invitation from my lady's hand. In it, I learned that she had married a man whose fame was familiar to me. A politician, and a patriot, and a most capable manufacturer. She told me, for I had told her of my coming, that they would return at 7 to pass 2 nights in this country house of theirs. And she begged me to be their guest for at least that shorter time. A veil was torn right off the face of the world, and I saw the truth. Evil and in tune with death. I had fallen in those few moments from an immeasurable height. However, I noted the hour, and I went back to her house towards the door, where she had entered perhaps an hour earlier in the company of a man with whose name she had mingled her own.
What did he manufacture?
Rectified lard. And so well, let me tell you, that no one could compete. I entered and was received. Her voice gave me again, for some moments, echoes of the divine. They faded. Meanwhile, her face, Her person, with every passing moment, took on a less pleasing form. Her skin, I could see now, though in the main of a sallow sort, was mottled, with patches of dead white. Her teeth were various. I am no judge if they were false or not. And her eyes suffered from some sort of affliction which kept them half closed.
Would account for the drooping.
Her voice was set at a pitch which was not musical. Her gestures were sometimes vulgar. Her conversation inane. I have never heard so many newspaper headlines in such a short space of time. However, we chatted away merrily enough, all three of us, until she went to bed. Then I sat up for many hours talking with the master of the house of politics and lard. His intelligence was clear, his range of knowledge good, his temper equable, and his heart was so warm that one could not help but desire him the best of fates. I have not met him for many years, but I still count him for a friend. The next day, I grew to like him even better than ever. And I could tell, in the light of a new day, what excellent qualities resided even in the wife whom he had chosen. My work called me away to a town early, by an early train. And since that day, I have lived my life. Oh, but that first woman still sits upon her throne. Oh, not even in death do I think I shall lose her.
Grizzlebeard, Grizzlebeard. Children and an honest marriage should have broken this spell long ago.
I'm not married, nor do I have any children.
Now it's your turn.
No, by all means. If you will. Ooh, my first love lived in the town of Lisbon when I was a lad of 17. And already weary of the sea, she was maybe 36, or a trifle more. In that climate, women age quickly. Our romance was short. It lasted but 5 hours. Indeed, my leave on shore was not much longer.
What was her name?
Oh, I don't know, I didn't ask her. Oh, just a minute. I'm not so sure this was my first love after all. I fear the vividness of these recollections have misled me. Unless I am quite mistaken, it was at New Haven, before we set sail upon the Lusitanian cruise, that I met my first love. Yes! Now I remember! Belinda was her name. No. That was the name of my second ship. You asked me, and I begin to go through my memory. My first love was not there at all, but at a place called Erith in London. At least I think so. Yes, it was that young woman in Erith. Joan! They called her. Joan. Unless it was that curious and rather unpleasant woman who lived on the far side of foulness with her father. And who used to row out with fruit and veg and things when the tide was off the mud. And just before the boats who were waiting to get through the swim had water enough to weigh anchor. Yeah. It was one of the two, I'm pretty sure.
I do not think you are taking this seriously at all.
Oh! Well, since you know so much, you can give me your own list.
I cannot tell you anything about your affairs, sailor, but I can very well describe my own. It was at the end of my school days. I was walking along a path which led between the two lakes at Bringham. It is one of the most beautiful places in the world. Then it was that I saw her. Upon the further shore, mixed as it were with the foliage and half veiled by reeds, a young woman whom I was not to see again. Who she was or how she came to be there, I do not know. Immediately she was gone, as though she had melted into the trees. And I went on my way. But as I wandered eastwards towards Arran, this vision grew and fixed itself within my mind, and for the next days of lonely travel in the county from inn to inn, it became my companion. Until at last, I took it for my fellow traveller. I have kept it within my heart ever since.
Good grief, what a lie.
It isn't a lie!
It is a lie! Oh, and a literary lie at that, which is the most contemptible of all lies.
I cannot prove it. I cannot even prove that what I saw was human. She was so beautiful.
And you cannot prove it, for you got it in a book. Or you meant to put it in a book. Whoa! I would not be seen dead in a field with such flimsy stuff.
Then it was I wrote 5 lines which enshrine her memory.
Oh.
The colour of the morning sky
Oh.
was like a shield of bronze. The something or other was something or other.
What?
I've never been able to complete that line properly, and the words, they will come to me. But I have the rhythm of it in my head, right enough. Her little feet came wandering by the edges of the pond.
Now I've got you. Pond does not rhyme with bronze.
Yes, it does. It's one of those new rhymes one ought to use. One does not pronounce the D in pond, at least not in the plural.
Grizzlebeard, the poet is telling lies and making bad rhymes. Grizzlebeard!
What? Have I missed a story?
2, and each duller and worse than the last.
Oh, well then, I am glad to have slept through them.
Oh, you do well to be glad. The sailor lied about 20 wenches. The poets lied about 1. But the sailor's lies were the more entertaining of the 2.
Yeah.
And also the more possible. They were lying about their first loves, as you may well believe.
Well, small blame to them. We all do that, more or less. And what about you, myself? Have you told your story?
No, he hasn't. He shirked it.
He has led us on, and he has said nothing, which is not fair.
I was only waiting my turn, and I should be very happy to tell you. I make no secret of it. Here is my first love, who I first met when I came out from the warmth of home into the deserts of this world, and who has always been absolutely sure and true, and has never changed in the minutest way, but has always been sterling, fixed, and secure. And I, in return, have been absolutely faithful. Now, gentlemen, to be loyal in that way is a rare and worthy thing.
Very good, very good.
We crossed the long bridge over Arun and continued along the causeway up the first ride into Houghton. We went down the sharp dip of Bignor and up the sharp bank of Sutton, always westward, following the road.
Poet, it is some time since you tried to give us verse, and I would not press you, for I know well enough that it is a hard labour of yours with that nasty sense of failure all the time. But nonetheless, I do beg of you to try your hand, if only to amuse us. For nothing lightens a road like a song, and we have already gone many, many miles.
With all my heart, since we are upon the edge of Burton and its ponds by the Downs, which is perhaps the most verse-producing mile in the entire world. Inspired by this, let me give you the most enchanting of songs. All gay, but this is the spring of the year. The sun.
Halt! Halt at once! Are you mad? Has it not sunk into that corked head of yours that it is All Hallows? Oh, for the Lord's sake, write nothing. It will be far better.
I am not writing, but singing. And it is my pleasure to sing of springtime. Whether I sing well or not, you cannot tell until I have accomplished my little song. But you have put me out, and I must begin again.
Oh.
All gay, but this is the spring of the year. The sun shall gladden me on the day, and we will go gathering May, my dear, and we'll go gathering May.
That's great.
For the skies are broad and the throstle is here. The throstle is here. The throstle is here. And we will go gathering May.
Oh, God. Oh, God! Tell me, Poet, did you write that yourself?
Yes.
Then tell me, what is a throstle?
I don't know.
I thought so. And tell me, does it come out in the spring?
I dare say. Most things do.
Oh, well, we won't quarrel. But if you have written much more of this, publish it and we will all have some fun.
Since the sailor thinks it is so easy to write good verse and on the spur of the moment, let him try.
Oh, well, since I have been challenged, I will howl you a rotund. But I warn you, it will make your hair stand on end.
Oh, no, I dread the sailor. He is blasphemous and lewd.
Judge when you have heard. It's a carol.
But it is not Christmas.
Neither is it spring. Yet we have sung our songs of springtime for all that. Right, good. Well, let me seize you. It has a title, not my own. We call this song Noel. Do you know it? You do. Go on. I'll give you your note. Got it? Go on. Noel, 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 a Catholic tale have I to tell, and a Christian song have I to sing, while all the bells in Arundel ring. I pray good beef, I pray good beer, this holy night, of all the year. May all good fellows that here agree drink cordial ale in heaven with me, and may all my enemies go to hell. No well, no well, no well, no well. May all my enemies go to hell. No well, no well.
What did I tell you? Rank blasphemy, and heresy too, which is worse. For at Christmas time we should forgive our enemies in particular.
I do. This song is about those who do not forgive me.
And this is bad verse, like all the rest.
I'd go drown yourself in milk and water.
What neither you nor the poet seem to know is that quarrels are tedious to standers by. So let us go into the Cricketers' Arms at Duncton to eat and drink and occupy ourselves with something far more pleasant.
Grizzlebeard, who had gone in ahead of us, engaged in deep conversation with a stranger who, great heavens, was drinking tea. The stranger was a measly sort of fellow, and his eyes were like dead oysters, which are unpleasant things. He and Grizzlebeard were in the midst of as terrible a balderdash as ever the good angels have permitted on this earth.
I should meet that by a dichotomy.
By a what?
By something German, I think.
Not teleological.
Oh, that would never do.
The argument cannot be met thus, for though you will not postulate the reality of time as a process, you must admit it as a dimension.
Never!
Oh, come on. Let's go and have a drink and leave these two philosophers to scrap about whether millstones and the world around and what have you. Come on.
I know this philosophy. When men are at it, they chain themselves down for hours.
There you are with the content of reality, expressed in contradictory terms.
There is no contradiction, but rather a variety of aspects.
Listen to them.
Grizzlebeard! Grizzlebeard, darkness will soon fall upon the Weald, and before it falls, we must be beyond Graffham, far beyond. Well, so you must make up your mind whether to disagree with this honest gentleman or to give way to him at once. And in any case, you must find God in exactly 10 minutes from now. For if you do not, we will find him for you. Have you ever seen two dogs rambling in the street, and how they will to no purpose at all whatsoever? And when this happens, have you ever seen how the good housewives, rushing from their doors, best deal with the noisome noise altogether and drown it with slops, bang, douches of cold wet water from about? Well, so it is with philosophers who snarl and yowl and worry the clean world to no purpose apart from to exercise their own vain clapper and clang. Well, this kind of man can only be cured by baptism. And this is found in 4 kinds: by water, by blood, and by desire. And the 4th kind is by beer. Watch me and what I do.
You are simply denying cause and effect.
I do.
I baptise you in the name of the 5 senses.
I warrant Grizzlebeard will come up in good time and he will be angry.
Oh, sailor!
Yes,
You are a rogue
Yes.
and a scoundrel
Yes.
of the lowest order.
yes.
The stranger was, in a sense, my friend and guest, and what you did was outrageous.
But my dear Grizzlebeard, the stranger was, in a sense, an intolerable drag. And had I not done violence, we would have never have got back on the road. Ha! Tell me, did you sell anything by the time we got away? I take that as a no.
Well, for my mind, I think it is a good thing to agree and bend oneself occasionally. And any man could do well with his life if he only had the sense not to offend those who are his superiors on his way upwards, and pay decent attention to what those in control desire of him.
What some would call selling one's soul. That is the easiest thing and the worst thing anyone can do.
Now, do not tell me it is easy when there stands as a dreadful example the tale of Peter the politician, which all the world should hear.
And all the world has heard it.
But not you, Grizzlebeard. So I will give it a due length to spin out the road and to do you special honour.
Very well. Do so then. Even your tale may be less dull than tramping the last hour of the day in silence.
Very well then. As you know, Peter the politician must have money. And
Having so, every public honour which I could drag up on the counter, and every public office, and every kind of power, except my own, and after I had sold my country, my family, my father and my mother, even my children and my self-respect, of course, and all the rest of it, I had nothing left to sell but my very self. But sell that I must, for I must have money. For no man can live the great life and go out to dine at new hotels and restaurants, etc., without money.
so, Peter the politician did up his soul in a little brown paper parcel. In brown paper, paid out of the taxes. With fine red seals, paid out of the taxes. And with splendid string, paid out of the taxes. And as the politician was very careful about his soul, and that it did not weigh much,
I took it myself and set off to the devil's office to sell it. Of course, I knew where the office was, for I had spent much of my time there whilst I was a young man, and had served my apprenticeship in another part of the building. I had come to see the head devil in private. My card.
oh, very good, sir. Please take a seat in the private outer office, where only distinguished people may await the pleasure of the head devil. There were one or two books about problems, especially on marriage, and some pictures on the walls that the devil had taken as a bad debt from a publisher. There was also a calendar.
Oh. Oh. They've taken out all the saints' days.
Time passed, and soon an hour had come and gone, when suddenly there appeared a very smart imp with buttons.
My master is so sorry to keep you waiting. Please accept our very humblest apologies, but the fact of the matter is, he's in the midst of a great deal of business. Please accept our humblest apologies, please. Thank you. You'll be along with you post haste.
Another 2 hours passed. Now this imp had no buttons, but wore a fine tailcoat, for he was a tailed imp, and more senior than the first.
My master, the head devil, is so sorry to keep you waiting, and entreats that you kindly send in what business it is you are upon, and hopes that it will be attended to immediately.
I have come to sell myself.
Oh, yes, of course, of course. Oh, please excuse me. We have so much work to do today that we are really one of our hooves. Of course, there is a regular office.
Yes, I know all about that office, but under the circumstances, and seeing that I am known here.
Yes, of course.
He began to seriously think whether he would not go somewhere else. Only he knew of nowhere outside of hell who wanted his soul. So he continued to wait. And after another 2 hours, there came in a very tall gentleman.
Pardon, sir, but I am the senior devil. My master is exceedingly sorry to have kept you waiting, especially now that he knows the nature of your business. But the pressures of work today are truly hellish. Would Peter the politician be so kind as to send in his offer, as the head devil can really not come out?
Very well. I have the goods here.
Then Peter the politician was kept waiting another 2 hours, after which there appeared the superior devil.
Ah, my dear sir, I'm very sorry indeed, but there's been a terrible slump in this sort of thing since August. The bottom is quite knocked out of the market. And well, to tell you the truth, what we'd really like to know is, how many do you have to offer?
How many?
Yes, you see, my master says we can't quote for these singly, especially in the present state of the market. But if you could bring in a gross...
Oh, a gross! A gross! I have never heard anything so outrageous, so contemptible. Damn you! Damn the lot of you! How dare you! I hope you rot in hell forever!
Oh, thank you, sir.
So, Peter the politician left there and then, forgetting to take his soul with him, leaving it there on the table, all tied up with string. And this is why some people go about saying he lost his soul, for he certainly never sold it. And this should teach you that it is not easy to sell one's soul, but it is extremely easy to lose it, or to give it away.
What's the very first time I'd heard that story?
It was the 15th time I'd heard it. The first time I heard it was from a Yankee, and he told it much quicker and better than the sailor.
But then you should go back to Yankee land and hear it there.
Oh, don't be angry, sailor. You did your best.
I think the sailor's story is immoral. You would.
We were nearing the end of our day's walk, and we were weary. We went through the gloaming till it was on the edge of darkness. And as we went, we debated our last feast, our last conversations, and our last songs, and our necessary farewells. Tomorrow we will come to the Hampshire border, which is the end of this little journey of ours across the county from east to west. For we have said that we shall separate and see each other no more.
Yes, that is agreed.
Well, then let's have a feast.
By all means. And who shall pay?
Well, I suppose I should pay, as I am the richest, but each man must give his share. And poet, I will pay your debt, and you shall become my slave for life. And if I can arrange it, your family too, for a long time afterwards.
Well, I shall be delighted, Grizzlebit, and I will pay my debt in poems.
Oh, not if I have my way. You shall pay in cash and at interest.
Well, anyhow, it is determined that we make a feast, and I say for my part, there must be in this feast bacon and eggs fried together in one pan.
And the drink shall be beer.
Besides this, what we need is 2 large cottage loaves of bread, some butter, and some kind of cheese.
Tut, tut, poet! Who in Sussex ever heard of some kind of cheese?
Well said.
I think you must have been out of Sussex, poet, for many years of your life, and at the wrong time.
Why, that is true.
And no doubt, poet, you acquired in other countries a habit of eating that gorgonzola cheese, which is made of soap, and Stilton, which is not made at Stilton, and camembert, and other outlandish things. But in Sussex, let me tell you, there is but one cheese, the name of which is cheese. There is in Sussex no cheese but cheese, and it is the true cheese, from the head of the Eastern River to Harting Hill, and from the sea to that part of Surrey which we get from the marches with sword and with bow. In colour it is yellow, which is the right colour of cheese. It is neither young nor old. Its taste is that of Jesus. The man may live in it all the days of his life.
Amen. Well then, there is to be bacon and eggs, and bread and cheese, and beer, and after that...
And after that, every man shall call for his own. I will drink port, but the poet shall drink cold water. The air was pure and cold, as befitted all animals. It was not yet quite dark, but the first stars had come into the sky, and the pleasant scent of the wood fires was already strong upon the evening air, when we found ourselves outside a large inn.
Oh, do come in, gentlemen. You'd be very welcome here.
Right, we want a beer, brandy, claret, and some fancy port.
Oh, we wish to have a great feast. A feast of bacon and eggs, 2 new pottage loaves of bread, cheese, and
Beer!
beer.
Just what we need. Oh, dear. That's it.
Aye.
Mine's the blackcurrant port.
Brandy?
Yeah. Yeah, mine's the claret, and poet at my expense, yours is the beer. Gollier! Gollier!
And I will sing Gollier.
Go on then.
Gollier, 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 and I will sing Gollier.
Yes!
Gollier,
Gollier, Gollier, Gollier, and I will sing Gollier.
Upon hearing that ancient song, our national anthem, I knew full well that I was still in my own county, and I was glad. Like a man who hears the storm upon the windows, but is himself safe at home by the fire, with Hampshire stretching waste a mile or two beyond. I was safe among my own people.
Yes!
Feast!
Yes.
It's unlike any other feast that ever was since the beginning of the world.
Yes.
It's exactly what the heart expects and desires.
Indeed.
delicious.
Indeed!
Oh, if so be as I do call, or be called upon to sing another.
A drinking song.
Oh, yes.
Drinking song.
Let me join you.
Oh, beer! Beer!
Beer.
Beer!
Beer.
Go on!
West Sussex drinking song.
Oh, yeah.
Open it up.
They sell good beer at Hazelmere and under Guildford Hill. And little Calfold, as I've been told, that beggar may drink his fill. There is a good brew in Amberley too, and by the bridge also. But the Swiss Chicken and the Washington Inn is just the very best beer I know. With my here it goes, there it goes, all the fun's before us. The tipples are bored and the night is young. The doors ajar and the barrel is sprung. I am singing the best song ever was sung, and it has a rousing chorus.
Let's have some more beer! I would like to sing a song so that each and every one of you would join in with me.
Oh, what might this song be called then?
Fathom the bowl. Yes. Come, all you bold heroes, listen here to my song. I'll sing you the praise of good brandy and rum. In the clear crystal fountains our England shall roll.
Bring me the punch ladle, I'll fathom the bowl, I'll fathom the bowl, I'll fathom the bowl. Bring me the punch ladle, I'll fathom the bowl. From France we do get brandy,
From Jamaica
comes rum, sweet oranges and apples from Portugal come. But stout and strong cider are England's control. Bring me the punch ladle, I'll fathom the bowl, I'll fathom the bowl, I'll fathom the bowl. Bring me the punch ladle, I'll fathom the bowl. Oh yeah!
We could sleep in for tonight. Oh, I'm sorry, sir, but we'd be right full here tonight.
Oh.
Even the hay barn's full with them who cannot go home on account of the beer.
But it is so late to set out now.
Well, all I can offer you is to sleep in front of the fire here. I have blankets and rugs, but that be all. Oh, and a candle.
Excellent, we'll take it. And we shan't be in your way in the morning, but we will head off early.
Well. So for the third time in 3 nights, we slept once more as men sleep in wars. But this time, our bones were hardened to it. Thus, we made out camp by the fire as best we could, and slept the last sleep of that good journey. Good night, one and all. Grizzlebeard? Sailor? Poet?
The time has come to rise. We are nearly at the end of our journey, and we must reach the border in the early hours of the morning.
Shall we have something to eat before we go?
No, we have a little way to go, and when we have gone that little way, then we shall break a crust and pledge each other and never see each other again.
So shall it be.
So shall it be.
We went out into the morning mist and walked through it sturdily enough, but in silence. For a mile, and a second mile, and a third. No one spoke a word. As I walked along, I looked furtively, first at one side, and then to the other. And it seemed to me, whether from the mist or what not, that they were taller than men. At that moment, I suddenly perceived that they were greater than me. Their eyes avoided mine. When we had come to Tryfield, Grizzlebeard took the lane northwards, which runs through Redlands and up to Elstead Hill.
Here we shall stop and break a loaf and pledge each other for the last time. Take this bread, myself. Oh, sailor. And poet.
took the road again and continued onwards until finally we came to South Harting village. Are we going to part now? We haven't reached the county border yet.
We met on this side of the border, so we must part before we cross it. And nor shall you cross it with us. My companions and I, when we have passed, must each go to our own place.
What do you mean?
You are more fortunate. You are not far from your home.
But is there another such company of 4 like us in all of Sussex? Come back with me. Come back along the crest of the downs. And tonight we'll reach another house I know of, and we'll sing yet louder songs by another fire.
No. We are all 3 called to other things. Our journey is done. There is nothing else at all that remains. Nor any house, nor any castle, however strong. Nor any love, however tender or sound. Nor any comradeship, however hardy. But I, who am old, will give you advice, which is this: to consider chiefly from now on that permanent thing, which is, as it were, the shore of this age, and the harbour of our glittering and pleasant, but dangerous and wholly changeful sea.
By this he meant death. I watched them, straining my sad eyes, but in a moment the mist received them and they had disappeared. I went up by the nearest spur onto the downs, and setting my face eastwards towards Slindon, my childhood home. But as I strode, an increasing loneliness oppressed me, and the air of loss. It was in the grove of Lavington, near the mounds where they say old kings are buried, that I saw and apprehended that nothing of our sort remains, and that even before my county should cease to be itself, I should have left it. Then, as I walked through woods more slowly, pushing before me great billows of dead leaves, as the bows of a ship push the dark waters before them, I suddenly remembered that it was the Day of the Dead, All Souls' Day. I walked on through woods until just as the light was falling, I looked up and saw I was there. My home. I had come upon that lawn which I had fixed for so many hours to be my goal. The haze had gone. The sky was faint and wintry. And above the channel hung the round of the moon. Turning round, I looked north, over the plains to the rivers and the roofs of the Weald. The River Arun, Amberley, wild brooks and beyond, and perhaps, if a man is part of and is rooted in one steadfast piece of earth which has nourished him and given him his being, and if he can on his side lend it glory and do it service, it will be a friend to him forever, and he will outflank death. I knew then that only verse would satisfy me, so I took out a little stub of pencil and tore open an old envelope and began to write. He does not die, that can bequeath some influence to the land he knows, or dares persistent interwreath love permanent with the wild hedgerows. He does not die, but still remains substantiate with his darling plains. He does not die. He does not die. So therefore, though myself be crossed, the shuddering of that dreadful day when friend and fire and home are lost, and even children drawn away, the passer-by shall hear me still, a boy that sings on Duncton Hill.